Hey, everybody. Welcome to Business Insights with Matt Milia. And I got a question for you here. When you think of a salesperson, what do you generally think of? You think of someone who's probably a little bit outlandish. Maybe they're extremely outgoing. They may even be over the top. But you don't ever think about the introvert or the person who identifies as an introverted person until today. We're going to debunk some myths here, and I'm going to share with you and show you how the fortune favors the bold. And I cannot wait for this podcast. But first, I'm going to cue up our intro here. Welcome to Business Insights with Matt Milia. I'm your host, Matt Milia. And in this podcast, we'll talk about the real, raw, uncut business success secrets you won't find anywhere else. Follow my journey from entry level to CEO. We discuss real actionable items you can plug into your business right away. To subscribe to our weekly top tips, you can go to www.mattpodcast.com and join our community of elite high-level performers. And if you're interested in our inside sales company, you can go to www.appointmentstoday.com to jump on a free strategy call. And now, stay tuned for our podcast. All right. What's happening, Steven? How are you today?
Awesome.
Great. I am super excited to have you on because you're doing something that is so bold and so few people do it anymore. And I'd love for you to tell everybody first off, before we get into what exactly it is that you're doing, tell everybody a little bit about what you do, what you're doing now, and how you got in. You're in the real estate business, so tell everyone a little bit about that, how you got in and how you got started.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think you queued this up properly. Let me just be clear with everyone listening. I am the worst person to be a real estate agent. Okay. The worst person. I'm an introvert. I don't work nights or weekends. I'm not online. Frankly, you could say I'm antisocial. I don't want to do anything social. I don't even want to talk to people really. And yet here I am in my 17th year in business. And I started in California, and now I'm in Colorado. And so I've built my real estate business twice, doing one thing and one thing only. And that is knocking on doors. I've knocked on over 125,000 doors as a real estate agent. And, essentially what I did is build a repeat and referral business from the doors. And I'm an introvert. So, right, none of those things go together.
No, not at all. And it's funny because when I even think about knocking on doors, I would say that I'm very extroverted. I'm one of those folks that, when I come into the room, because I'm loud, I sometimes can be boisterous. And it's one of those things where I couldn't imagine just the knocking on doors. I mean, I've cold called, but that's a little different because you're behind the phone. It's so different than knocking on doors. What was it that got you over? I mean, there had to have been some sort of a fear or hesitancy to do that. And the fact that you built your business twice off of that, it obviously shows that it is working. What was it that kind of helped you overcome those fears that people generally face?
Yeah, well, just to be clear, the fear never goes away, right? I've never gotten into a neighborhood and gone to get out of the car and not had a little bit of fear, right? So it's not the same fear as when I started, but it never went away. And so really the question is, what is it? Look, not everyone's going to go knock on doors, right? So I wrote a book. It's not about knocking on doors. It is about the journey of taking difficult action over time, right? What it takes to persevere. So, right, no one wants to knock on doors. No one wants to make sales calls. No one wants to do open house. No one wants to go to social events. Most people don't want to do any of that stuff. However, right, at some point, we have to decide we're either going to be uncomfortable. There's something at stake that's going to have us do something we don't want to do. And for me, I got in the real estate business March 15th. I got my license March 15th, 2005. My third child, my only daughter, was born 6 weeks later. So now I had 3 kids under the age of 5 in a commission-only business. Awesome. Great. Good thinking, Stephen. That's what I needed to be doing. Right. In a
Right.
business where, being a, smart guy or having some business experience doesn't mean you're going to make it. And so for me, there's a long way to get to answer your question. The answer is, here I was with 3 kids. I didn't want to go back to the corporate world, and I didn't want to fail. Right. So I had to fight. Right. I wasn't going to do all the things I just said. Open house. I was not social. Right. I wasn't going to do any of those things. And I didn't have money in the bank to spend on marketing, which is a whole other, topic I'm not an expert in. And I had a real estate coach, and he says, it's really simple. You knock on heads, knock on doors, pick one. And the knocking on heads wasn't working for me. And so I really had to decide, am I going to try this knocking on doors and overcome my fear so that I can survive, essentially, or am I just going to quit and give up? And for me, the choice was, I'm going to make this work, and I'm going to try this knocking on doors thing. And little did I know, here I would be 17 years later, with all those doors and all these stories and all this business and all these clients and all these amazing friends. Right, you never know. But again, if I wasn't willing to take that uncomfortable action, none of this would have been possible.
I love that, because so few people, you have to get comfortable in the uncomfortable is what it sounds like for you, getting comfortable being uncomfortable, because it is so uncomfortable to be knocking on doors and then getting the no's or the rejections or the people slamming doors in your face. I do have to ask you though, I mean, you have like a favorite story or something that's come from knocking on doors?
Well, I mean, I will answer that. Let me just comment, because you did say, it is hard. And I'll say what was always the hardest is, it's not clear when you're out at the door or when you're taking on any sort of long-term strategy. It's not clear how it's all going to turn out in the moment, because the results, look, the odds of someone needing to move the day I knock on their door, unbelievably low, right? Unbelievably low, right? So it's a longer term strategy, and you got to be in it to win it. Was that what the Randy Jackson line is, right? And you got to be in it for the long haul. And so what's happening is, if you're looking around at what everyone else is doing, it seems like everyone else is killing it, right? Well, I'm huffing it at the door, right? When it's hot or it's cold and it's not fun or whatever. So that's the first thing, is the going back to my why, is more important than any immediate result or what other people think or what it looks like from other people. And that is a whole other topic. So we could spend an hour just on that topic. But along the way, of course, you do have people who are jerks, right? Not everyone is happy I'm at their door. But I will tell you, the 2 most miserable people that I was at their door, both happened in Colorado. They were both, not picking on women, I love everybody. But these were 2 particularly female realtors who were not just mean, they were nasty. Like, I cannot say, because this is, I'm sure, a PG-13 show, what they said to me when I was on there, coming up to their door. And, the lesson when I'm talking to other realtors is that how you want to be known amongst your peers? Is being the just nasty tongued, not open, not even polite, right? Because in real estate, right, it's collaborative. Most of the time we're each on the other side of a transaction. I'm representing one side, someone's representing the other. We're working together, even though we're working together to make something happen. And contrast that with she's become a very good friend, and we've done a lot of business together. I was in a neighborhood, knocked on a door, female realtor comes to the door, and I do my spiel, and she says, well, I'm a realtor. And I say, great. Do you have any listings coming? And she says, no, I mostly work with buyers. I said, tell me what buyers you have. And, from that door, we did a really big deal with her buyer and my off-market seller. And just you could just see that's a total difference in mindset in terms of where they're coming from. And so there's a lot of lessons there. One is some doors, people are jerks. That's okay. Go to the next door, because lo and behold, there's someone really great we just don't know which door they're behind. And so I don't know if I answered your question. I kind of went off on a couple tangents there.
No, you did. I was asking about a story of some door knocking. You gave me some great ones. And the funny thing is that for everyone that's watching here, I want to make sure too that I plug this in. Doors Open When You Knock. It's an awesome book. There's so many great concepts in that book. Oh, look at it. I love it. That is awesome. And what was it that inspired you to make that book, Steven?
There's a couple of things. And the first is there's no arriving. There's no arriving, right? Life is a journey. Life is not new news, right? But we forget that life is a journey. There is no arriving like we've made it. So on one hand, the book is everything I've needed to get to where I am. And even where I'm at is not where I'm going to end up, right? I still have a long way to go. And so a lot of, the reason why it's tabbed is because I have to remind myself of what there is to do. And so part of the book is reminding myself what's required, for ongoing, I hate to say success, but the subtitle is A Realtor's Handbook. You can substitute whatever you are, realtor, loan officer. It's a realtor's handbook for boundless opportunity and freedom, meaning having a life that has no limits, having a life that's where we're free to be in our business as opposed to chained by our business. So really that was the guidepost for the book. And my commitment is that people live a life and have a business that allows them to have a life.
I love that. And it's so funny. That goes totally in alignment with what we do, because with our inside sales company, the whole reason why we even started it was so that agents, real estate agents, loan officers, insurance agents, anybody who's even really offering a service business where they don't want to be constantly in the business, they want to work. They want to work on the business. They don't want to be in it constantly. So the ability to delegate off, have those systems and processes in place, have those people that make those calls, it makes a world of difference to help them leverage the one thing that all of us are looking for, which is how do we grow our time? How do we grow our freedom? How do we get to that place where we want to get to? When for you, and I'm sure your book probably touches on a lot of this too. I didn't get through all of it yet. So, but I saw the reviews. I was reading through what people were saying. A lot of the reviews that people were saying, and this is a huge compliment to you, they were saying this is not some book on theories. This is actionable items, which, you can't do much better than actionable items. You're literally telling people what to do, giving them the framework. What is it in your mind if I were just starting off like you did, let's say brand new? Actually, I am brand new to the Tampa Bay area. So, and I am in real estate. What would be the strategy if I were following some of the steps from your book, if you don't mind sharing?
I think, in fact, I was just this morning, you and I spoke just before we started recording. I was just doing kind of a mid-year planning session for some agents that I work with. And it always comes back to why am I here? And you could make that as big or as small as possible. But, one of the agents was sharing that, and this is her 6th or 7th year in the business. She does very well. She often sells 40 plus homes a year, so she's not, she does business. And the first half of the year, she only sold 10 homes. She still did very well, but she took a lot of personal time to become a chef. She got her, whatever your certification, it took a lot of time. And as she's planning out the second year, she started to make the first half of the year wrong because she didn't sell 20 homes. She only sold 10, but she had this huge personal accomplishment. So, some people get into real estate to make money. Nothing wrong with that. I'm just not so sure that that's that's so fulfilling. So when you're starting out, this goes back to your question. So what's the first step? You just got to check in. Well, what am I doing? Am I here to make is this a 1 to 3 year gig, or is this like a 10-year commitment? And, what do I really want to accomplish? Because there's definitely some strategies that work better for making quick sales. But if you're going to build more of an advisory business, there's some other things you're going to do differently. And you're going to have some patience and take some time to build some key relationships. So that would be, I know it's so cliche, but it's cliche because it's true. You got to start with, what is your purpose and why are you here in the business? And then the second thing is figure out what you're willing to do, right? I was not willing to to go be social. I was not willing to go do that, right? I'm just like, but I will get out of my comfort zone and go knock on doors. For others, right, it might be the opposite. I have no idea. I'm not saying knocking on doors is the right thing. What I am saying, sitting around thinking about what to do for 3 months is the wrong thing. Pick something.
So true. It's so true.
And pick something, and then if it's really not for you, I don't mean is it not working. If it's really not for you, it's okay to switch. If you're like, oh, you know what, doing open house is not for me because I like my weekends off. I didn't want to do open house because I don't want to work weekends. So again, that was something that, so it really is just figuring out what you're willing to commit to. There is no right thing. It's just the thing that will work, that will work for you. I know that's not a real answer, but it really is the answer.
No, and it is because, so many people get stuck in this paralysis by analysis, where they just literally, they keep analyzing something and they just get paralyzed. And then instead of taking action, they don't do anything. And I've been guilty of it. I've done it before with running different ads. We've had a couple of years, like I learned how to, market online, do lead generation online, which we'll actually talk about because I'm very interested to hear about the follow-up that you have going on. But of course, like you said, when you knock on a door, what are the chances that that person wants to sell right then and there? What, 1 in 1,000, 1 in 10,000, maybe?
Yeah, probably the latter. I think
pretty low.
Somewhere between. I didn't keep great stats on this, but it's somewhere between. It was usually like once or twice a year, someone would come to the door, and it would they're like, oh my God, I can't believe you're here. We're moving. Maybe twice a year out of 8,000, 10,000 doors, but that's low odds.
So, well, it is. But what I love about that is that it's persistence, it's determination. I just got done actually watching the movie with Ray Kroc, the founder, and one of the things that he said in the end was that persistence is everything. If you're persistent, there's not anything that you can't accomplish. And to be knocking on that many doors, that is ultimately persistence. So I love that. And even with the lead generation, going back to what I was talking about before, doing online leads, which I'm curious, you're going in and let's just call it what it is. You're cutting through the bullshit. You're getting out of the, okay, I'm going to put all this money into all these leads and I'm going to just focus solely on this one pot of gold, and that the pot of gold doesn't yield massive results. I'm, like most people, they're out. I love the fact that you're actually going in and you're going directly to the doors. Now, is there a follow-up strategy? Do you put them into a system or anything like that?
So no, I'm not, and that's not the right answer.
Okay. I love it.
The answer was Steven wanted, right, I got in this business so I could raise my 3 kids. And so okay. I only needed a minimum. That's the wrong way. I didn't need to make $1 million, right? I had no burning desire to sell 50 homes a year. That was too much work for me. Yeah. I didn't want to work that hard.
Right.
But having said that, though, what I did was a couple things. I focused on the people who responded to me. I didn't try and create every door into a raving fan. Instead, I focused on the people who were receptive. So that was the first thing. The second thing is I made sure I saw everybody 2 or 3 times a year. So think about this. But when you talk in a real estate business, you got to touch your people 2, 3, 4 times a year, right? Live in person.
Right.
What's better? I'm at their door. I'm a real
Right.
estate agent. I connect people and property. I'm at their door. So on one hand, being at their door is a total gift, right? I'm a real estate agent. I'm at your door talking about real estate and you. So I didn't have to spend a lot of time and money on follow-up. Having said that, maybe about 3 years ago, maybe 4, I have to check, but I did start mailing consistently-ish to people who were those people who responded to me. And I definitely know that, I've gotten phone calls from people where I'm pretty sure I might not have gotten the call, right? Because if I see you, Matt, right, I knock on your door, it's October. I'm out the first 2 weeks in November. I'm not out the second half of November, and I'm not out in December. I start mid-December, right? I might not see you again until March or April.
Right.
Or March, and then maybe once in the summer, and then again in the fall, or however it works out. Well, if something changed in February and you lost the notepad, you're like, oh, that guy, Steven, he comes to my door. Where's his info? Darn it. And then you get something in the mail, right?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
1, 2.
Right. So I'm not going to say that type of stuff doesn't work. It does. I didn't do a ton of it earlier on, and that's shame on me. I also didn't pay more attention to those people, like really love on them more sooner. So the answer is I wasn't doing a lot. Some of it I got away with because I was in person creating a real connection. But that doesn't mean the other stuff doesn't matter. It just matters after the first.
And I think that when you're going out, you're knocking on these doors, you're not putting yourself in, I think the biggest challenge that a lot of people have is, and I tell people this all the time, they'll call in, they're looking for someone to either help them generate leads or set up appointments. And the number one thing that I hear from some folks is, well, you have one of two things. You either have the budget to pay someone else to do all that heavy lifting and do the work for you, or you've got the time that you can trade in order to get those results. And a lot of times people are not willing to pick up that phone, knock on that door, run that Facebook ad, that YouTube or Google ad. It's something that's outside of their comfort zone. So I love the fact that you're doing something that is helping push, you're basically written a book to help push people outside of their comfort zone is what it sounds like. Is that pretty fair from the author? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's funny. And I'm looking at the book, I'm thinking, right, there is a very, at least it's famous to me because I've heard it a million times, right? You got to learn to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. I don't think I use that line in the book. I'm pretty sure I don't. But as I'm thinking through the chapters, that's essentially, that is part of the message, right? Is that whatever I have pinned up on my board here. If you've ever heard of Albert Gray, he gave this speech in 1940, The Common Denominator of Success. He is quoted in the book, and he, basically says, right, the common denominator of success is that successful people develop the habit of doing things that failures won't do.
Yeah.
And, you don't even dude, let me just say, I sucked at knocking on doors for a long time. I was not good at all. Not at all. And yet somehow I still found a way to do business. And the point was, I just got in the habit of taking the action, and eventually I got better. And the other thing is, right, people appreciate the effort. People really do. When you show up a couple of times, oh, there's that guy again, because normally what happens, someone knocks on a door, you never see that human being again, right? Whether it's the cable guy, the bug guy, the lawn guy, the window guy, when you see someone knocking on your door multiple times, or, again, if you're listening, you don't got to go knock on doors. if you're the one showing up at the PTA meeting, if you're the one showing up at the Rotary meeting, if you're the one showing up at whatever you're doing to get in front of people, the people just don't show up in life. I'm not trying to pick on people, but the more as I'm getting on this rant, I mean, when I think about it, people just, going back to what you said, persistence, people just aren't willing to stick it out. They just get in their own way. And I think showing up, again, another cliche, right? Showing up is half the battle.
It's so true. And it's funny because you're saying cliche, but I mean, these are all things that are applicable. And so many people are looking for that shiny object. They're looking for that. They're looking for the key to success. They want that pill that gets them, thin quick or gets them all that muscle. It's all that consistency. It's literally going there and essentially developing leather skin, because you've got to have leather skin if you're going to these doors. I mean, I'm sure you've gotten cursed out. I'm sure you've gotten people cleaning their gun. Well, maybe you're in a nicer area.
I have had one person come with a gun on his holster to the door.
Man.
But I mean, you'd be surprised. Most people, despite what we see on Twitter in terms of what's happening on airplanes and people being hostile and all that other nonsense,
right?
You'd be surprised at how civil most people are at the door, even if they're not interested. Most people are just like, hey, I don't have time, thanks. And great. And then I'm gone. So, because if it's a no, great. As one of my mentors said, no just means next opportunity. And that part I got pretty quickly, right? Just go to the next door. People, when I do in-person events, which I haven't done, I've just started doing again, and I'm doing some workshop or work session and someone, it's not always on door knocking, it's on whatever we're talking about. And people are like, well, what do you do at the door? Like, we want to hear you be at the door. And, I usually start with the person who asked. And of course, they're an asshole, right? They just want to be a jerk at the door. So I'm like,
right.
I look at my thing and they're like, rawr. I'm like, all right, have a great day. I go knock, and then I go to the next person, knock, knock, knock. And they're like, well, what? I'm like, yeah, if he's a jerk, hey, have a great day. I'm going where there's no jerks. Well,
right. And I think too, a lot of that, I mean, just even from my own personal experience, because we just moved from Ohio and moved to Florida. And it's funny because as soon as we moved in, I swear, I feel like these guys are like fresh meat. We had solar guys at our door almost every other day. And there was a couple companies that were knocking. I quit answering after a little while. I'm like, these guys are just relentless. I'm not going to answer anymore. And then I kept seeing this one guy kept knocking. I go, this guy. All right. So I answer the door. I'm like, you know what? You're extremely persistent. I got to give you credit there. And it's hard for me because I know like they're interrupting me. I have other things going on, running business, doing all kinds of different things that need to be done. And they're coming here in the middle of the day. So finally I'm like, look, I don't want to be rude to you. I'm in sales as well. What is it exactly that you're offering? Goes through his pitch, tells me everything, show me your bill, all this stuff. Well, he couldn't help, which is totally fine. But I gave him that time of day because of that persistence. And I think that is by far one of the most important things. And that couldn't have been comfortable for that guy because he flat out told me, he's like, look, I'm not some pushy sales guy. I'm not here to, push solar down your throat. If it's not a good fit, no problem. We'll part as friends. But at the very least, you owe it to yourself and your family. Show me your bill. Let me see if I can help you. Couldn't, because I just wasn't paying enough. But again, hey, and that's okay. I mean, there are some people that he's going to be able to help, and he goes to the next door. With what you're doing and with all the things you've learned, if there were one guiding principle that you would say that led you to first and foremost write the book, but also got you to where you are at today, what do you think that principle is?
I mean, I would say there's two things. One of them is not in the book. Because you got to do the book is the first, the book is a framework. If you can't show up consistently, which is really what the book is about, right? If you want opportunity and freedom, you got to look here. Every day I used to knock on doors, pre-COVID, 150 days a year from 11 to 2, give or take a half hour. You know what I did at 2:30?
Went to the bar?
No, I took a nap. in my car usually.
I love it. I love it.
Because I was tired. I'm an introvert. I'm exhausted from talking to, from being on.
Yes, I can imagine.
But if I didn't have an appointment, and even if I did, sometimes I'd schedule the time, right? The freedom to just mentally take a break and recharge. Or if it's the summer, like it is now, though my kids are all older, go to the pool with my kids. All those things were because I was willing to show up. And so the book is the framework of how you develop the habit of showing up so you can have the freedom you really want in your life. And the one principle, to answer your question, the one principle that's missing for many people, at least as it occurs for me, is they have no freaking patience. No patience.
Yep.
Just give it some time, right, to work itself out. Like the universe just does not. The universe is not on a 2-ring dial, right? They don't pick up on the second. It doesn't pick up on the second ring. It takes a few rings.
So true. And I think a lot of that is I call that the Uber. It's not even a word, the Uberization. But the Uber, the Netflix, the instant gratification, the I want it now movement, so to speak, where everybody's embodied this way of thinking of, well, if Amazon gets it to me immediately, which, by the way, for everyone watching, you can also buy the book on Amazon. But for everyone has this mindset where it needs to be now. I have to have it right away, today, right away, today. And I tell everyone that, I, of course, help people with their inside sales coaching. And I tell them flat out, hey, listen, if you want results, what you did 90 days ago is what your results are going to look like today. It's not what you did yesterday. It's not, if you were really out, so what is it now, July? So what you did I'm sorry, not July, June. I'm already moving ahead. If what you did in March and what you did in February and what you did in January, that first quarter of the year, all of those actions is what your business is looking like in the second quarter. If you decided that you were going to sleep through the winter time, the holiday season, take off from November to the end of December, hey, great. If that aligns with your goals, that's fine. But if you wanted more and you're trying to start off faster for the year and not have to start up digging out from under all those challenges, you needed to be doing all those productive actions and activities. It sounds like that's really a big framework as well in the book. Would you agree?
Yeah, that's totally right. Totally. I mean, real estate's a momentum business, and there's nothing wrong with taking time off. I'm not telling people don't take time off.
Oh yeah.
Right. But what ends up happening, right, since we're talking about summer, what do most agents, well, at least in Colorado, it was true in California too, right? People go on vacation in June, July, and August. Right?
Yep.
People, like many people, including the agents. The
Yep.
problem with agents is they take time off, and then they take time off, but not acknowledged, right? So they, take Friday off, make it a long weekend, don't come back till Tuesday, and then they're sort of not really working, and then they're at the pool with their kids. And again, nothing wrong with any of that, except that none of the it's okay to do those things if you did what was most important first.
Right. It's that reward before earning it. So I love that. Well, for everyone that's watching, guys, Steven Ross, amazing book. Definitely go out and get it. It's www.doorsopenwhenyouKnock.com. You can also get it on Amazon. And Steven, just, again, thank you so much, first and foremost, for jumping on. And to close out, is there anything you'd like to just say to the audience that's watching, or anything you'd like to share before we close things out?
Yeah, well, one, thanks for the plug on the book. I really do. If this resonates at all, it really does make a difference. I don't get rich on the book, but every sale makes a difference in terms of getting the message out. So I really do appreciate that. And then my parting message is, look, doors don't open themselves. They only open when you knock.
I love it. Awesome. Steven, thank you again. For everybody watching, we will see you same time, same channel next week. See ya.